Hello, my name is Gonzalez-Lloret, and I am a professor at the University of Hawaii. I'm going to talk to you about call and task-based language teaching, or TBLT. The fields of call and task-based language teaching have had a relationship for a long time. Some of the first studies of call started in the 90s, and they were already using tasks, although tasks in the more traditional definition, so the activities that were goal-oriented and usually with some type of information gap that would encourage students to communicate and negotiate. Since then, the variety of tasks has evolved with the new technologies and the possibilities they offer for language learning. We now have tasks that are much more sophisticated and much more authentic, and they're more related to the students' world outside of the classroom. We have now students that work telecollaboratively in different parts of the planet to create websites, to plan trips, to rent an apartment, to build a game, or to play a game together. As technology has evolved, more and more tools and spaces and resources exist that match really well the methodology of task-based language teaching. We now have enough research in the fields of second language acquisition to guide us in the selection of technologies and the development of tasks using those technologies. Just to make sure that we are talking about the same thing, task-based language learning, or referred sometimes as TBLT, is based on principles of learning by doing or experiential learning. Tasks are authentic activities that students will need to do outside of the classroom, and tasks are usually the units of the teaching. They're the units that make up a curriculum. There are multiple versions of TBLT, from more traditional, more classroom activity ones to more authentic real-world tasks. But no matter which definition, tasks have something in common. They're focused on meaning, they're goal-oriented, they're learner-centered, they're flexible, authentic, and experiential. In the models where tasks are more authentic, we think of target tasks at what the students actually will need to do when they're outside of the classroom. From those, we can extract some target task types, and from those, we develop pedagogic tasks. That's the activities that we do in class that will help the students achieve the final target tasks. Those pedagogic tasks usually start with lots of input, then guided output, and then more and more free output until students are able to do the tasks. And usually those pedagogic tasks are also ordered following some complexity theory principle that would allow us to sequence them in the most effective way for language learning. So if we're studying 1 to 3 weeks, making reservations, that would be a target task type. For learning how to do making reservations, we would practice how to make reservations for a hotel room, for a car, for a restaurant, for a tour. All of those are actually different target tasks. That's what the students will be able to do outside in the classroom. And in order to get the students to be able to do that, we need to do activities in class to help them with the language, to help them with the technology if they are mediated by technology. And those are what we understand to be the pedagogic tasks. Now, is grammar important in TBLT? Yes, the answer is yes. We don't want students to just be fluent, but we also want students to be accurate and to have certain complexity in their language. But very important, grammar is not the focus of a lesson, but rather a support to make sure that students are complex, accurate, together with fluent in their language. So what technologies to incorporate, since there are so many technologies out there? From a TBLT perspective, the most important part to start any curriculum is to conduct a needs analysis. This needs analysis would let us know not only what target tasks students need to be able to do, but also what language is involved in those tasks, and what technology may mediate those tasks. Once we decide what tasks we're going to incorporate, we have two main options. The first one is to develop our own platform or our own activities and the content for those, or we can actually use existing platforms and existing technologies and develop the content for them. For the first option, we need resources. We need human resources, we need economic resources, and some institutions or teachers may not have those. So today I will focus on already existing platforms and technologies where we can develop a task-based content. So we know from SLA and TVLT principles that if we use existing tools, what we want these tools to be able to do is we want tools that promote learning by doing, that are learner-centered and provide opportunities for language engagement and practice in non-threatening environments. We want technologies that provide lots of comprehensible input, an input that is elaborated and not simplified. We want technologies that allow students to engage in the negotiation of meaning, that promote output, which will allow the comparison of learners' patterns and allow them to adjust their interlanguage structures accordingly. We also want technologies that provide immediate corrective feedback, that engage participants in cooperative and collaborative tasks. Hopefully, technologies that are motivating and that help establish an important sense of community. And of course, we want technologies that help students develop not just their language abilities, but also intercultural competence. We can group technologies following two important principles of TVLT. The first one would be the technologies that promote learning by doing. And here we have pretty much all of the Web 2.0 technologies that are participatory, synchronous, and interactive. We also have internet activities in which we engage every single day and can be used for L2 purposes. We also have virtual environments and virtual reality and augmented reality environments. And of course, also games. MMORPGs, we have place-based games, individual mobile games, and decision-making games. The second group of technologies would be those that promote interaction. Here we have computer-mediated communication tools, asynchronous and synchronous. We have social networks, and we also have spaces, safe places that we can create for our young learners especially to engage with other speakers of the language. And we also have a lot of tools that help with written interaction as a form of interaction. Blogs, collaborative spaces, and fandoms or fanfiction spaces. And we can't forget assessment. We are supposed to assess our students with the same methodology that we teach. And if we are doing TVLT, then performance-based assessment is a way to evaluate our students. We want to know if students can do the task in the language. We also want to know how accurate their language is and what level of complexity it has. We also want to know if students know the social-cultural norms that are involved in the task that they are conducting. And of course, if technologies have been used for the teaching through tasks, we also should incorporate those technologies in the assessment. So this was a very fast overview of call and task-based language learning. On a more personal note, I first became interested in technology and tasks 15 or 16 years ago. I was a Spanish instructor here at the University of Hawaii, and we used to do a scavenger hunt to teach students and practice giving and following directions. It was great until people complained that it was too disruptive, having students running up and down the building, and it was too surprising to find them in the bathrooms looking for clues. So I thought that maybe technology could help with this new need, and I developed a 3D environment very rudimentary for today's standards, with a task that required following directions to find a map. This work was published in 2003 in the Journal of Language Learning and Technology, and after this project it was clear to me that technology and tasks had an important role in language learning. I then decided to do a PhD in second language acquisition and including pragmatics. So I wanted to study whether technology could help to develop pragmatics in a place like Hawaii where students did not have much contact with the speakers. We actually didn't even have TV in Spanish at that time. So all we had was a non very interactive Internet 1.0. So I developed a telecollaborative project with students in Spain, and I wanted to find out whether students were able to develop addressivity, so that's the use of tú and usted personal pronouns in Spanish. I collected data via text-based CMC because text-based CMC was the only kind of CMC that we had at that time. And to me, it was clear after this dissertation that yes, technology was really an asset, especially in places like these where we didn't have the luxury of expert speakers around us. Since then, call and task-based language learning and teaching have been my main areas of research. One of the highlights of my call career, I would say, has to be the plenary talk that I had the privilege to deliver at the 2017 TVLT conference in Barcelona. Not only because it was a plenary and all my mentors and everybody that I had been reading for years was on the audience, but because finally the field of TVLT was acknowledging the importance that technology-mediated tasks bring to the large field of TVLT. Although I do enjoy writing and speaking about technology-mediated tasks, for me the most rewarding part of working on this topic is the actual implementation of the ideas in real programs with real people. I had the chance to work with Mike Long and Katie Nielsen on a very large project to develop from ground zero a Spanish TVLT program for a large government agency. And it was through that work that I really understood what tasks are and how to sequence them for a syllabus, and the importance that training the teachers has for the success of a TVLT program. Most recently, I was really impressed when I was invited to the University of Antioquia in Medellin, Colombia, to work with the faculty on a new TVLT curriculum affecting thousands of language students. To me, that is an exciting and very rewarding part of my job. And for us, scholars that work in the field of call, the research and the training we do never gets boring. Technologies are constantly changing, way too fast sometimes, and keeping up with innovation makes our work exciting and fresh.